99 FM, Urban Sounds, Global Minds, 35 minutes past 7, and yes, you heard correct. It is that time of the morning, time for your Royal Hustler. This morning's Royal Hustler is none other than TransNamib CEO, Mr. Johny Smith, who joins us in studio this morning to share with us, where he grew up, if he had a side hustle, and just to get to know him on a more personal level. Good morning, Mr. Smith, and thank you so much for joining us here at 99.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right, so let's get straight into it. Tell us a bit about yourself, where you were born and raised.
Yeah, so myself, I was born at a very small town to the south of, southwest of Rehoboth. Mm-hmm. Used to be a mining town many years ago.
Yeah.
And I was very small when my family moved back to South Africa. Mm-hmm. Also due to the type of my work that my father did, we moved around a lot. So most of my time I spent between Namibia and South Africa, of course, in terms of growing up.
Yeah. All right, so between Namibia and South Africa.
Yes, yes,
all right.
Yes.
What did you want to be when you were young? I mean, sometimes, when we were kids, we always change. I want to be a doctor, I want to be... So what did you want to be when you were young?
Yeah, being a person who grew up during the Apartheid era, I saw a lot of ideals, and I always asked myself, why not? So I always saw myself as a business person, carrying a briefcase. That's when I was very small. And of course, I don't have my own business, but I think in terms of what I have done up till now and sort of achieved, it's really in terms of still remaining with that business aspect in terms of trying to create that value and contribution.
All right. Where did you go to school? Primary, secondary, tertiary? I'm assuming also it was between Namibia and South Africa.
Yeah, if I have to tell you all the schools I went to, about 7 primary and secondary schools apart from university. So it's quite a few.
Yeah.
And I think that has enabled me to get a better understanding of different cultures, different people, and assessing different environments. So, yeah, it's quite a few.
Quite a few.
So I also had to adjust all the time. It was very, very difficult.
Yeah, can you imagine? Yeah.
Yeah, but I think through that process, at least I learned quite a few things.
You learned quite. It's important. Were you a straight A student?
Unfortunately not. Also, my younger son always tell me that the A students work for the C students. So yeah, no, I unfortunately wasn't. Maybe because I always thought that the best way to learn something is really to have a better understanding, and I think normally that's the C average student. So I was a C average.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you, when you were young, did you have a side hustle? A means of getting extra money when you were young?
Yeah, I had a very difficult time growing up with basically without a father. So we used to assist my mother in terms of just trying to generate some additional funds after school and also during holiday time. So there was nothing sort of separate that I did. It was most of the time just to assist her, as we were, most of us were boys.
You are the chief executive officer, the CEO of TransNamib. How did you find yourself in that position?
Yeah, it's most probably quite a long road for me to get to this position. But I have been in the transport and logistics sector for quite some time. But very interesting also is that my first job was at TransNamib.
Look at that.
So I started at TransNamib. I was there for a stint of about 18 months.
Okay.
And then I went to 3 other companies before I came back to TransNamib. So I've always, they say once you're a railway man, you're always a railway man.
You stay a railway. Interesting.
Yeah, so I always had that interest to come back to TransNamib.
Yeah. When you were working there for the 18 months, did you ever imagine that, maybe months later, that you would be the CEO?
No, I think the environment was just very different at that time. It was just after independence when I started there. And I never thought about it that way. Although I had my own ideals, but at that time I never thought about it, that it will happen like that one day.
One day, but here we are. Here we are. What is your motto or your motivation? What is your why you do what you do?
Yeah, lots of people have asked me why did I take this challenge or project that I call it. But for me, I believe that you are placed on earth not for yourself, but to create value also for others around you.
That's beautiful.
And that's what I believe that we need to do at TransNamib in terms of the opportunity that we have to add value to the economy, especially now with these difficult circumstances that we're living in.
Yeah, I agree. And also, you work around a lot of people. What do you look for in people, potential employees or partners? What are the key qualities you look for?
Yeah, for me, there's actually 3 qualities that I normally look at when I appoint people. I won't mention all 3, I'll just mention one.
Yeah.
Which is the attitude.
Very important.
And I think you can always learn new skills, etc. But the attitude is something very difficult to change. So I always look at that in terms of getting those people on board. And I believe in the young people. I think the young people today, they have so many opportunities. But if they just get the attitude right, and then we will have a very good an excellent country one day when they are in charge in terms of managing
if the
country.
Attitude changes.
Yes.
Success, success means a lot of things to different people, but what does success mean to you?
Yeah, for me, success has got different meanings, but I think the most important, or the one that's standing out the most for me personally, is really to be happy. And you feel like you have created value not only to yourself but also to a lot of other people. That's really where I believe the success lie in terms of because as I said earlier, you are not placed on earth, I believe, for yourself, but for the people around you.
And that's a really, really powerful point. And finally, Mr. Smith, right now a lot of things are happening in the world, in Namibia, but I have to ask this question. Despite where we are right now, are you excited about Namibia?
Every morning when I stand up, I forget about yesterday. So I focus on the future, and the future with all its opportunities and possibilities. There is so many opportunities for Namibia and still around there. One should not be discouraged about what has happened. And one should remain focused on where we're going and make the best of it. Okay,
before we let you go, Mr. Smith, I'm just going to ask this question. You seem like you have some wise words to share with the youth that's listening right now. So before we let you go, anything you'd like to say about attitude? You mentioned attitude is very important if you want to get a job or if you want to succeed in life. Just again, any final words you have for the youth in terms of the future of Namibia?
The attitude doesn't start with anybody else than yourself. So let us start with that. And for the young people, start with that. And you will find one day when you get older that at the end of the day, you are the one responsible for yourself and nobody else. So once you change your attitude, you will get that long-term value and you will also create it to others.
Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Mr. Smith, for coming through and sharing some very wise words and sharing your story with us here on
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. That's, of course, your Royal Hustler for this morning on The Ignition, the CEO of TransNamib, Mr. Johny Smith, sharing with us where he grew up and just some wise words about attitude. Attitude is very important. So if your attitude is not right, you cannot move forward in life. That's, of course, it for now. It's 7:45, 8 o'clock here in Hit.